This tutorial is based on understanding what action column is and will be going through a step-by-step process of how to use it using a few examples. So action columns can be used to trigger workflows, as well as third-party services like Slack, Trello and many more. The important thing to keep in mind while using action columns is that it triggers workflow as well as third-party shows should be configured from the studio. So for that, I have an app called Action Demo within which I have created my workflow called Get Sentiment. So the purpose of this workflow is to perform sentiment analysis over input text and set the result in this sheet in the sentiment columns. I have done all this configuration already. So now I will try to trigger my workflow using an action column. So for that I need to add a column, I will name it Get Sentiment and will select the type action. Next I need to map this column with my workflow. Click on this configuration button present in the column holder. Now here we can see all the available options. Since we want to set up a trigger for a workflow, I will select the workflow option and then continue. Now we need to select the app within which the workflow is present, and then select the workflow. Now I can change this name to whatever I want it to be. We will call it Compute Sentiment. Since there is one input parameter to be passed in my workflow that is text based on which the sentiment will be analyzed, I will map it to the corresponding column. Here I already have values of the input text column present, so these will be used to trigger the workflow. Now we can save this. When I trigger a workflow, the values will be fetched from the same row for the workflow computations and the output will also be stored in the corresponding output column, in this case the sentiment column of the same row. Now since this statement exhibits a negative sentiment, when I trigger this I should get negative in this sentiment column. Let's trigger it and see. As you can see the workflow gave sentiment as negative. Now let's try changing this to a positive statement. Now when I again trigger the workflow again the value in the sentiment column will be recomputed based on the new statement. So this is how we can trigger a workflow that has an update sheet task. In the same way we can trigger workflows that have notification or approval tasks too. We can also in the same way we triggers for API services as per the requirements. Thank you for watching. For more videos visit our YouTube page.